So let me start. First, thank you for the organizers for this event and also for all the sponsors for making this possible. This is our second year in a row to be sponsoring this dreamOlé' event, and we are really proud of it. And all right, thank you to you as well for joining. Today we will be talking about why Copado. I'll show you a quick demo, and then we will talk about our newest features in the current version V11. And let me start with introduction part. My name is Mert. I'm the product manager of Copado DX. We are constantly developing this new application we have, and we will keep developing it whenever Salesforce releases a new command or new feature. We will not stop, and it would be a sin not to follow Copado's this new feature, the Salesforce's new feature, because they make a lot of noise, and Salesforce DX is really helpful in order to manage the development and release processes in a related line. So Copado is a currently leading provider of Salesforce release management, and now with this new DX features we are an end-to-end development lifecycle solution as well. And we also have, on top of release and development lifecycle management, easy test processes and also compliance checks. And also we are tightly integrated with Git, and we also offer continuous integration. We have our footstrap all around the globe. These are some infographics we have from last year. We are serving more than 100 customers with, as you can see, 6.8 million page views, 200,000 app sessions. I'll not stop here. I don't really want to bore you with the numbers. So why Copado? These three steps are actually our goals. We believe that features don't add any value to anyone whenever they stay in the sandbox. So we want them to be delivered as soon as possible. We want developers and admins to love what they do. Building apps on Salesforce platform is fun, and it should not be a pain. That's why we believe that people should not work overtime, even during the release, even after the release. If there is a problem, it doesn't matter, people should not work overtime. In the demo, I will talk about how we actually make this possible. Let me quickly jump into demo. Right, so this is our eXperience screen. We are on eXperience. Everything we have is 100% Salesforce native technologies. We use Salesforce platform for our developments. We use Heroku for our heavy lifting operations. That's why we actually say we are 100% Salesforce technologies native. And let's start with something really simple. This can be the simplest deployment flow. We have only integration, staging, and production environment. And our goal is to convert this into something like this. And we can do this by simply creating scratchworks and creating the deployment flow step by integrating them with the integration environment. These development environments are not limited to be scratchworks. They can be sandboxes or regular developer environments as well. And this is our DX panel. So in DX panel, we have 4 main operations. And the first one is the planning operation. In the planning operation type, we want to help you during the transition process. Therefore, we have manage artifacts, create Metadata Definition Templates, and manage project template screens. The first one is manage artifacts. You can manage your artifacts, your set of metadata, by simply creating a Git repository for them, or you can manage them by creating unmanaged packages. Salesforce is about to release a new type of package, which is unlocked packages. We will also support that. It's a forward-looking statement, but we are constantly working on it as well. And whenever it's GA, we will make it GA as well. We don't want to depend on a beta version of a feature. That's why we don't have it in here yet. All right, so whenever you create your artifact, you can manage your artifact metadata quite simple. In here, we have available metadata selection grid. Available means for Salesforce DX and Copado DX is you can create your artifacts and you can select the metadata for those artifacts only once. So if you select any of these metadata for this artifact, the selected metadata will not be available for any other artifact, which means one metadata can live in one artifact and one artifact only. After you have done your selections, you can switch to selected metadata section, and then you can review your selections. After you click on Save, Copado will commit your selections to the given Git repository. This is actually how you manage your metadata in your artifacts. After you complete your artifacts, you can also create org definition templates. We create this template structure in order to allow Salesforce developers and admins to create their scratch orgs easily. And we don't really want them to select these org preferences features every time they need to create a scratch org. That's why we have this as a template. One other reason is developers and admins usually doesn't know which features or org preferences they need to enable or disable in order to replicate their production environment. So someone who knows what to do, release manager, project manager, product manager, doesn't really matter, can create these definition templates and developers and admins can leverage. And after you have your definition templates, next step is the creating of project templates. So idea behind of this template is the same as well, but instead of selecting our preferences, now we need to select artifacts. So in order to create a module metadata or application metadata, you can select one or more artifacts, and then you can basically create the proper set of metadata for your scratch org. In this particular example, I have core, which contains all the dependencies between these two other artifacts, and I have sales and property management. I want to deliver a user story for the sales department. That's why I have selected course and sales. And now, by using this template, I can create my scratch org only with the selected metadata. So I will not be loading any property management related metadata in my org. Therefore, my scratch org will be created faster and it will be cleaner. After you complete your planning operation, you should be ready to go with Salesforce DX by using Copado DX. Developers or yourself can be assigned to your user story, and by using our scratch org wizard, you can create your scratch orgs lightning fast. And our scratch org wizard contains 3 simple steps. The first step is the org definition template selection. You can select the template, everything will be automatically selected, and if you want to do some changes, if you want to enable another feature, you can always do it. Or if you know what to do, you don't really need to select the template, you can always create this manually. After you complete the org definition part, now we have the metadata selection part. You can always select a project template, and all the selections will be given automatically, and you will have the preview of the artifact metadata before you actually continue with this. We also have, in total, 5 different metadata source type. You can create your scratch org metadata from Git artifacts, package artifacts, as patch a release. If you want to patch an existing release of your application, you can leverage this feature. In Copado, we use Git tags, so whenever you commit something onto your user story, if the user story has a release associated with it, we use this release version, and we create a Git tag in your Git repository, and whenever you want to do a change, a retroactive change or an enhancement in an existing version of your application, you can basically create a patch for that application. Next selection type is the branch. We have a branching strategy that we follow, and let's say industry standard currently for the version control systems. We create a feature branch for every user story that you have. And also we create a project branch for each scratch org that you have created. And also we create a promotion branch for every release that you deploy from your environments to another. So by simply using feature branches, you can enhance an existing feature. You can test an existing feature in a clean testing environment. And by using promotion branches, you can create a training environment for your new release. And also, you can basically create a clean testing environment for an entire release. And then by using project branches, you can extend the duration of your scratch org by simply cloning it. You can recreate in a scratch org if you couldn't complete your development in the middle of release, something came up and you couldn't complete it, you can basically recreate it, or somebody else can do it. If you don't want to give access to your scratch org, they can basically take the ownership of the user story by simply creating a new scratch org. And the last one is metadata. If you have less than 10,000 metadata item in your environment, you can simply clone entire item by using this section. We have this 10,000 metadata limit because Metadata API has it. Salesforce DX is using Metadata API in the push command. That's why we need to respect that limit as well. Anyway, after you select the metadata that you want to load into your scratch org, you can simply click on Next. And then in the next section, we have 3 main items. The first one is the deployment flow selection. Deployment flow for your user story will be automatically identified, and then you can always select which step you want to include this scratch org for. And in the next section, you can assign permission sets. If you have any permission set in the selected metadata, those will be listed in here, and you can assign all of them or some of them, and then whenever you create the scratch org, they will be automatically assigned. And in the last section, before you actually click on complete, you can review your scratch org structure in terms of org definition and org metadata. All right, so what's going to happen if you click on complete setup? Copado will create the scratch org. All the features and org preferences will be enabled. The metadata that you have selected will be loaded to the scratch org. And then Copado will get a Git snapshot into a project branch in your Git repository. It will be the initial branch for the scratch org. And then we will, by using that branch, you can use command line interface as well. We are not limiting any developers to stay with Copado in order to develop their changes. You can check out to that project branch, and you can always use any Copado Salesforce or Git commands in the command line interface. And after the snapshot, we will also assign all the permission sets to the scratch org user, and then scratch org will be ready to use. When you create your scratch org, you will be redirected to this page. This is the scratch org operations panel. And in here, you can do 4 operations. You can get org details. You can generate passwords for your scratch org if you want to authenticate your scratch org with an IDE. And you can open your scratch org and delete your scratch org with a single button click. Even if the Salesforce DX structure, even if the Salesforce DX commands are not enough in order to start working on your user story, we have this extension capability by simply leveraging Copado deployments. So you can simply execute Apex anonymous scripts. You can load data. You can create manual tasks if you need to do something manual in your scratch org before you start working on it. You can add supporting metadata. If you couldn't find your metadata in any artifacts, you can basically load them into your scratch org, and whenever you commit those, you will be prompted to be asked which artifact that you want to put these in. And also, you can migrate users. If you have an integration user, for example, you can migrate your integration user into your scratch org automatically, and then you can start working on it. And also, all these step types are available. So if you are Jenkins or Bamboo, you will be able to execute Jenkins or Bamboo jobs along with your scratch org creation, along with your deployments. You can execute any Copado webhook URL by using URL callouts, or if you have any third-party system which has your webhook URLs, you can also execute those as well. And then after you execute the extensions, your scratch org should be ready to be worked on. And this is the scratch org details and password view. So I clicked on Get Details and Generate Password buttons. Therefore, I have the further information about my scratch org, and I have the password in here. We have a strict security for the open org, delete org, and the password. You have to be the owner of the record, otherwise those will not be shown to you. Okay, so we have the org, and now we have completed our changes. We need to commit. This is our commit screen, and committing files is not the only option you have. You can do recommit, you can do destructive changes in your org and in your Git repository, and when you do destructive changes, Copado will handle all the dependencies automatically as well. So if you delete an object, all the fields, all the list views, layouts, and anything related to that object will be deleted as well. You can also commit full profiles and full permission sets. In order to commit your changes, you can select your changes manually, and you can search what to commit, or you can filter by type. You can sort them by column, and all these are available. And also, there's another way to select them, is the check org status. So you can simply click on check org status, and all the changed and affected files will be given in here as a list. You can see removed add, removed change, and if there is a deleted file, they will be shown as removed deleted as well. So after you get this, you can come here and click on select the exchanges. Every change you have done in your scratch org will be selected automatically. And then you can give a commit message, and then you can click on commit. All right, so we have our changes committed into our user story. So what happened is Copado committed these changes into a feature branch. And as you can see, the feature branch is given in here. With a single button click, you can access to that. And down below in the related list section, you can see the commit and promotion history for this user story. And at this point, we are completing this user story. So we need to enforce some quality gates in order to make sure this user story is ready to go. What we can do is we can validate the user story by simply clicking on validate button. When you click on Validate button, Copado will create a validation deployment from source and target. Source in this case is the Scratch org, and target in the integration org. We get that information from the deployment flow associated with this user story. And then you can enforce static analysis in order to get code quality and security issues. You can execute compliance scan if you have compliance rule set in your system. You can enforce Selenium testing, and then you can create a pull request. When you create a pull request, by leveraging our webhook system, we will retrieve those information from your Git repository, and we will store them in your org. So whenever there is a review or assignment, whenever there is a change request, approval, or a comment, Copado will listen all of those, and you will be able to report all of them in your org. The other quality gate we have is the minimum Apex code coverage. So if you commit an Apex class to your user story, Copado will automatically identify it, and his Apex class checkbox will be checked. And then minimum Apex code coverage will be enforced. In this case, it's 75%, but it's not a hard-coded value. You can manage them on the environment level. You can review your user story selections. If you want to add a test class without committing it, you can always add it. If you didn't do any change in your test class, you don't really need to commit that, but you need to get the Apex code coverage. Therefore, we have this add test class option. And in order to execute your tests, the only thing you need to do is clicking on this Run Apex Test button. And after you click on that, Copado will execute all the selected tests, and it will give you details in class coverages, trigger coverages, and methods level. And finally, we have test scripts. These are the manual functionality testing part of Copado DX, and also the Copado change management. And in here, a developer, admin, or a test engineer can define how to test this user story by defining them in steps. And then they can assign test runs to their colleagues for different purposes. In this particular example, I have a performance testing. And in order to complete this test, I need to log into the development environment, and I can execute it over there. But since Scratch orgs are easy to create and they are disposable, that makes them perfect for testing. Therefore, we have easy test Scratch org creation. With a single button click, you can basically clone the original development environment into a new Scratch org, and then you can complete your test over there. When you complete this test, the test environment will be destroyed, and they will not consume any limit from your Scratch org limits. Right, basically, we have created a user story, we created a Scratch org for that user story, we completed our development, and also we committed them. And everything looks okay because we enforced all the quality gates. Now this user story is ready to go. We need to promote that user story from the development environment into the next environment. In this case, it's integration. We can promote this user story by simply clicking on Promote arrow. It will give us a promotion dialog. And in here, since it's yellow, it will not show anything. We need to recalculate. In here, you will be able to see how many user stories that is waiting to be promoted. How many commits you have waiting to be promoted. Even if you commit something outside of Copado, you will be able to see your commits in here. And Copado executes validation deployment whenever you calculate steps or entire deployment flow. So even before you try to deploy or promote your user story, you will be able to see the deployment errors history. You will be able to see file differences and auto-resolve conflicts. Merge files and file differences are showing the same stuff. In the merge files, you will also only see the updated files because they will be merged. Let me talk about auto-resolve conflicts a little. So Copado is an automated conflict resolution manager. So if two developers are working on same class, and if one of them is creating method A and if the other creates method B, Copado will be able to automatically merge them without overriding anything. That's how we are actually automatically resolving it. Before automatic resolution, on the user story level, we have potential conflict warning. On the promotion level, before you click on deploy, we have potential conflict warnings. And if you forget to check these potential conflicts, if you forget to resolve them, Copado will stop the promotion by warning you with the merge conflict status. At this point, you can click on review merge conflict button, and Copado will show you which class is conflicting by giving you this git-like tags, and you can resolve it right here, and then you can save. During the deployment, Copado will respect this resolution, and it will be delivered as resolved. Copado is highly scalable. We can manage up to 1,000 environments in one deployment flow, and theoretically, we can support up to 2 million metadata in one org. I say theoretically because nobody has that amount in any environment. This is the complex, I mean, not simple deployment flow. I saw worse ones. And we are capable of managing something like this as well. So this is all I have for Copado DX. Copado has much more than that. Copado DX is just one part, 5% of Copado. And we have 8 applications in total in the package. If you want to get details about anything related to Copado, we have our booth in the dreamOlé' area. If you have any questions, we have 5 minutes. I can answer them right now. And even if I cannot answer all your questions, you can always stop by in our booth, and we will be answering your questions. All right? Do you have any questions? Yeah. I think she will give you the microphone.
Hello. Is there a kind of console or metadata IPA or in order to see the status or run commands instead of the point and click?
You can always use regular command line interface. We don't have our own command line interface yet. It's in our roadmap. But as I said, we are using Git strictly. If you know Git commands or Salesforce DX commands, you can always check out our branches, and you can use it by using terminal or any other command line interface tool.
Thanks.
Hi, maybe I missed it, but there is a way to load data?
Yes. Let me show you. Okay. Should be here. Yeah. In our extensions, we have a data step type. We deploy data by using SOAP API or bulk API. And in order to deploy data, this is not a data deployment, this is data migration. You need to create a query by using our query generator. And during the deployment or during the extension, we execute that query and results will be migrated from one org to another. We are aware of that this data migration is a little bit naive. That's why in our next release, we will be focusing on the data deployments. We are planning a really cool and complex and smart data migration tool in order to manage the data. Because as you know, scratch orgs are really scratch. They're totally empty. And in order to start working or start testing, you need some data. That's the current pain of Salesforce DX. They don't even have a complex data migration tool. That's why we want to get in and do something complex for that. That's in our roadmap. In a couple of months, I'm not exactly sure when we will be delivering that. I have my scratch org ready. I'm developing the data migration tool. And if you want to get more details about it, it will be a forward-looking statement, but I can give you all the details when you stop by at the booth.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you manage manual transformations during the deployment? It's like current challenge for me, and I'm not particularly Ant migration tool savvy, is like deploying connected app. So you have to modify it. Well, on my side, like the consumer key and consumer secret during the deployment process, so it's not a manual process thereafter.
I see.
So just interested to know how you handle that.
We have 2 solutions for that. We have environment variables you can define on environment level. So let's say you have an environment variable in your scratch org saying that this is my consumer key, and in the next environment, in the integration environment, you can create another environment level for the same consumer key item with different value. So during the migration, during the deployment, Copado will replace them automatically. And if you have something more complex, we have global find and replace rules. You can create your own YAML file, and you can put it on your environment. And during the deployments, Copado will read and do all the replacements automatically. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. We only have 1 minute left anyway. So thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.